Oh, man. Have you been thinking about starting a cold plunge? Well, let me see if I can try and help you get on the right path to getting started. Guys, I've been thinking about this video for a little while, and when I was getting started cold plunging, I was just reading about it. And, you know, there wasn't a, I'm not going to say there wasn't a lot of information about it. There wasn't a lot of great information I felt about how to get started. Now, yeah, I mean, you could buy a cold plunge, you could do the ice in the tub and all that stuff, and we're going to go over all that. But I wanted a way to ease into it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's me being a wimp or whatever. But I wasn't ready to dive right in and get something like I'm in right now, this Desert Plunge Grizzly. So I just thought I would make a video and try to help you guys that might be on the fence about how to get started and things like that, because it's not easy. It's a commitment when you finally decide to get something like I'm sitting in right now. That's a commitment. It's a financial commitment. And once you spend that type of money, you want to be committed to doing it because you don't want to waste your money. But there's some easier and a lot cheaper ways to get started to find out if you like it. So there's some of the things that I jotted down some notes over here because I just can't remember everything. But a few of the ways you can get started is through, like, if you have a lake near your house or a stream or something like that, when the water temperature is a little cooler, and I wouldn't say super cold. You want to start out. I mean, I started out when the temperature of my pool water was, 70 degrees, 60, 68 degrees, something like that. But find a lake or something like that you can tolerate for just a minute, or a stream or something like that you can tolerate for just a minute or so. But I think the key to doing it is having a routine, being routine with it. And, I do this twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. And when I get up in the morning, am I jumping for joy that I'm going to go jump in the cold tub? Not so much every day, but I know that is a routine that I have. And I know that that's going to make me feel better throughout the day. But once I get in this tub and I get submerged like I am now, it's great. I don't have a problem with it in the world. Sometimes thinking about it, though, is like, oh, do I really want to go get in that cold water? And then it's like, yes, you can do hard things, do it. But yeah, if you have a lake or stream nearby that you can do that in, that's awesome. Another way to do it is cold showers. I tried cold showers. A lot of people swear by them. And there's these things you can buy that attach to your shower head that you can put ice in to make your shower colder and stuff like that. I do not like cold showers. And that's just personal preference for me. I don't like them because I can't get my whole body in cold at one time. So, like, I let it go over my head, and some of it's running on the front and on the back, and it's like, oh, God, that's cold. Oh. And you can't get over that moment all at once. And that kind of sounds crazy, but it's just a constant, and maybe that's good. I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing, but it's that constant shock to the system. Like, when I'm getting in this and I get fully submerged, I get that shock one time. In the cold shower, you're getting it all the time. So I don't know. Maybe it is better. I started out with the pool. We have a pool in our backyard. And I have really been thinking about cold plunging for quite a while. And 2 years ago, I tried it a couple times in the dead of the winter. Now, look, I'm in Central Florida. So when I say the dead of the winter, I'm talking like 40 degrees outside. Not like some of you folks up there would, like, you got to break the ice on top of your cold plunge or whatever. But I started just jumping in and staying in a minute or two and seeing how it was, kind of testing the waters. And I would do that like once or twice a week. There was no schedule to it. It's totally random when I thought about it, when I felt like doing it. And then weather got warm and there's no more cold water. And I really think the coldest that year that I got in was like 65. So that brings us to last year. last winter, not this previous winter, the winter before, I said, look, I'm going to do this twice a day. I'm going to do it every morning before I go to work, and then I'm going to do it every night before I go to bed, and I'm going to do it for 3 minutes, and that's just it. That's my routine. That's what I'm going to do, no matter how cold the water gets. So it started out at like 68 degrees, something like that, and I would do my 3 minutes, and I would constantly keep moving and things like that, and I really liked it. I saw some benefits from it. I played a lot of sports, and I've been very physically active with weightlifting and things like that my whole life. So I don't know what it's called. Never been diagnosed with anything, and I don't even think there's a diagnosis for it. But I would just be sitting in my chair sometimes, and my arms or elbows or my knees and legs and things like that would just be aching, And I'm like, I would be 50 in August this year, so I'm like, well, just been hard on my body, and that's part of it. But I started realizing through this cold therapy that you can actually get a little relief from that through this cold plunge stuff. And so that's why I started. So I started in the pool, and I did it every morning, every night, and I really saw some benefits from it. I liked it. So then, the weather started warming up. I think the coldest I got was like around 59, 60 for a few days straight, where it was really cold here, really cold to us in Florida, like in the 30s. So it actually felt warm when you got in the water compared to the outside. But I did it. Rain, it didn't matter. Did it. Did it in October during a Hurricane Helene. I was in this tub. But anyways, I decided, yep, that's what I want to do. And I was super bummed when the water warmed up, and I really didn't get any effects from getting in and out. So that's when I presented to my wife that I really wanted to either build a cold plunge or buy a cold plunge or something. It looks like my time's up for my cold plunge. So I'm going to get out real quick and dry off, and we'll be right back, and we'll finish this conversation. See you in a minute. All right, guys, back here with you. Finally got out of the cold tub, got those wet clothes off, got dried off, got some dry clothes on. Feeling great after that cold plunge. So where were we? Talking about the different ways, the cheaper options you can get into cold plunging. I was talking about the pool and how I did that. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But another option is on Amazon. They have these like round vinyl tubs that are held up by PVC. It's just like a piece of plastic or vinyl in there, and you can fill that up with water, and then you can dump bags of ice in there. That is a really good way. That is a really cheap way to get started to find out if you like it. If you have an ice machine at home, that's even better. I would say if I had an ice machine here, like we have at our work, like an industrial type ice machine that made ice all the time, that's probably what I would be doing to this day. I was really interested in that. We just don't have, I don't want the inconvenience of going and buying bags of ice. I don't have a place to store bags of ice. I don't want to go to the store every morning, every afternoon to get ice, things like that. So that's why we made the commitment to end up here. But yeah, just getting started, really, lake, stream, something like that. In fact, I was just up helping my parents in North Carolina with some stuff. And I don't know if you guys watch me on TikTok. I do morning and evening TikToks as well. And well, we got a visitor, little wasp there. So yeah, and I know that about 13 miles from their house, there's a place called Fires Creek, and it's a stream, and it's deep enough where I can get in it. And so I would go down there in the morning, about 7 in the morning, go in the evening, about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would get in the cold water there in the stream, and it was cold. And that stream water was cold. And then some mornings it was cold. It was cold out. So it worked great. And it was great scenery. It was awesome being in the woods, being in that state park. There was a few people there. They probably thought I was crazy, but that's okay. That's all right, because I'm sitting here talking to a phone, sitting in the middle of a stream or a camera. So anyways, lake streams, things like that, good ways to get started. If you want more to go more of a tub route, like I said, the cheap one on Amazon, or a pool. If you have a pool or you know somebody with a pool, really, really good way to get started. But like I said earlier, the biggest key is developing that routine. You just have to tell yourself, look, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to try it. You may, after trying it for a couple weeks, you may say, you know what, this ain't for me. I don't like this. I'm not getting any benefit out of it. You know, I wouldn't do that if you're only getting in 70-degree water. Try to get in that cold water, that 58, or below that. To me, I think, and look, I'm no doctor, but to me, that's where I find the benefit. So yeah, like my wife, she tried it with me in the pool when I was doing it in the pool. She tried it 2 or 3, 4 or 5 mornings in a row, and she would get up to her waist. She would spend about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. She hated it. She did not like it. She didn't find it relaxing. She didn't see any benefits. She only did it for a week or so. But that's not her jam. She gets in the sauna in the mornings. That's what she loves. That's what makes her feel good. So you got to do what makes you feel good. But if you're thinking about cold plunging, definitely make it routine. And I would always advise starting out as kind of as cheap as you can, just to see if you're going to like it. Like with a stream, a pool, something you're dumping ice bags in. I think that is a better way to go before you jump in whole hog on something like this. Like now, this ran me about $3,500. Although I did use the David Moss affiliate link and get $100 off. I'm not sure if he still got that going or not, but you can always try that. Check out his page, David Moss Jr. A lot of information about cold plunging, saunas, biohacking, and just living a great life. Great page. I learned a lot from that page. He has got a ton of information. And that's kind of how I found out about the desert plunge. So what happened was I decided that I really wanted to do this. I wanted to make this commitment. I still wasn't really sure that I wanted to spend a lot of money, which, $1,000 to me is a lot of money. $3,500, that's a lot of money. So I came upon this page about DIY cold tubs, and this guy has put together a web page. You can buy directions from him. You can buy parts from him. Really, really good instructional stuff on how to build your own cold plunge. And that's what I was going to do until I saw the mod tub. And I was blown away by the mod tub. Obviously, they use the Grizzly cooler, the Grizzly 400. And, if you guys see my other video about being addicted to coolers, I love my coolers. So I was sucked into the mod tub. And I was watching all the reviews on it. The problem I had was all the reviews had these guys that are about 6 foot to 6'2", but they're like ripped and jacked and skinny, and they're getting in there and they got all this room. Well, you guys could see me. You saw me in the tub. I'm not ripped. I'm not jacked. I'm a big guy. I've lifted weights my whole life. I've played sports my whole life. But, I got to have time for other things. So I can't dedicate all my time, to being as physically fit as I would love to be. So I wanted to make sure that I could fit in the mod tub. So what I did is I started reading the specs on it, and I started measuring my shoulders, because I didn't want to be in something where I had to be shoved in like this and felt like I'm in a coffin or something. I didn't want that. So I started looking at the mod tub, and then I started seeing people were DIYing it. They were buying the cooler, they were buying the chiller, and they were doing their own thing. And I said, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. So I talked to the wife about it a little bit, and she's like, all right, well, we can start saving towards that. And and your biggest expense, if you're going to DIY it with this, is the cooler and then the chiller. Everything else is relatively cheap. That's where I was heading. That's where I was going. I started, I would do all kind of research, watch videos on YouTube. I'd read Facebook posts about DIY cold plunges. I would be on forums about DIY cold plunges and cold plunges in general. And I was just gathering all this information, I would find a part that I needed for my project. And then somebody would say, oh, well, that part's good, but this part's better because you could do this with it. I'd find it on Amazon. I'd put it in the cart, save it for later. I'd do this. My wife thought it was crazy. I got like 600 things in the save for later. But that's what I was doing. And then I was watching David Moss Jr.'s channel one day, and he introduced the Desert Plunge. And I really liked the Desert Plunge. But it was the same thing as the Mod Tub. So I said, well, Mod Tub was the first thing that I liked. I'm going to stick with them. Well, then Desert Plunge came out with the wide, which is what I have here. And I was like, man, I really like that because now I don't have to worry about my shoulders. Then after a while, still saving. I was then now saving for the wide. Then they came out with the Executive, okay, which was just for Desert Plunge. So it was the regular size tub, but it was longer. So you could almost stretch all the way out. It was like 6 or 7 or 8 inches longer. Can't remember. And I thought, wow, that's really nice. And that was great. I was still saving for my wide. I was just going to buy the cooler. They were on back order too. So I was talking about it with my wife, and this goes on for quite a while. And, one day she came to me, she said, if you really want to commit to this, she said, why don't you just go ahead and buy the plunge that you want? Because she knew I didn't want one of these really super fancy ones that were like 10 grand. I wasn't interested in spending that kind of money on it. She knew I liked the cooler ones, and she knew about where the price was. So she came to me, she said, let's just go ahead and do that. So she said, my wife is our financial advisor. She does all the money. So I asked her, I said, do we got the money to make this commitment? I told her how much it was. She said, yep, go ahead and order it. So I told her that they were taking pre-orders for the Executive, and that's the one I decided I was going to go with. So I put in the pre-order for the Executive. Everything was great. We're waiting. And then I got worried. I was like, man, I even reached out, I think, to David Moss, and I was like, hey, am I going to like this Executive? Explain to him I'm got wide shoulders. I'm a big guy. I don't want to feel like I'm in a coffin. He was like, you're going to love it. I promise you're going to love it. But okay, well, I'm a neurotic type guy. It's on my brain 24/7, and I got really worried that I was going to get something in that I'd spent, a lot of money on, and then I was going to be stuck with it and not like it. And for me, that's going to be killer. If I'm going to get something like this, make an investment like this, I want what I want, and I want it to be comfortable. I don't want to be like, oh, this is nice, but I wish my shoulders weren't. So I called customer service at Desert Plunge. Awesome people. I said, look, I'm pre-ordered for the Executive, but I want to switch to the wide, which they had in stock then. No problem at all. They made the switch. I even changed the color to this color. I love this color. I don't know why, but I love it. Made the switch. They got it mailed out to me. It came in a week or so and set it up. No problem. Love it. You guys saw me in this tub. My shoulders were not touching. I would probably be fine in the Executive or the regular, but I really love this tub. I wish it was a little deeper, which when you go to the wide, it's a little bit shorter, but it's wider. So I really wish Desert Plunge would come out with a wide Executive. That would have been the best, right? So it would have been wide and long. Maybe call it a 500, Grizzly 500 or something. Maybe if they do that, they'll come in with an exchange program. I can send them my tub. They can send me another one for a little extra cost. I don't know. Desert Plunge, if you're listening, think about it. Think about it. All right, so that's my story, guys, and that's how I got into it. But the point is, that whole story is I eased into it. I wanted to make sure that I was solid with doing it. I wanted to make sure that I could commit to doing this and that I was getting the benefit out of it that I needed before I spent the money on it. And that's what this video is about. I want to help you guys before you take that cold plunge and invest that money, that you have, that you have options to find out whether you really want to make that a routine in your life and you really want to make that commitment. So like I said, lakes and streams, wonderful. Showers, I didn't like. A lot of people love them. That'll work. That'll get you to know if you want to do it or not. Pool, if you got one, or you got a neighbor, you got a family member, something like that, doesn't mind you coming in. getting cold, getting wet. The cheap ones off Amazon that you put the water in, dump the ice in. It's a good way to start, especially if you have access to ice. But to wrap it up, that's what I would suggest on getting started with cold plunging. I'm a huge proponent for cold plunging. I would say give it a good month. Try it for a month. If you don't like it or you're not seeing any benefits, then maybe it's not for you. But I love it. So guys, don't forget, please like and subscribe. That helps me tremendously, especially if you subscribe. And we'll keep these videos coming. I am going to do another video, a longer video on the pros and cons of cold plunging and why I like it. And then I'm going to do another video on a 6-month review on this wide, this Desert Plunge wide. So that's coming. Be on the lookout for that. And I'm going to do a video on different types of cold plunges. So that's coming too. So look for that. But hey, listen, guys, I appreciate you watching my videos. I appreciate you hitting that like and subscribe button. And hey, have a great day. Appreciate you.